Hey guys, welcome to our channel, The 12th Man, and I'm your host Prakash, and across from me is my co-host Praddy. Hey, and today we'll be bringing you previews of the World Cup, which starts tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. I'm super excited. Well, Russia, we're gonna see all sorts of interesting things happen. But one thing I'm even more excited today was the news that USA, Canada, and Mexico won the bid to host the 2026 World Cup. So I'll be able to walk right across the street and watch the World Cup. I am not missing this. I am super excited for that.
And I'm super
Yeah,
jealous.
Yeah, well, you get Premier League and the Euros, so I guess that evens out.
Kind of.
sort of.
Yeah, so the World Cup starts tomorrow in Russia, in I think Moscow, and we okay. So we're gonna bring you a roundup of the World Cup groups. We're gonna talk teams. We're gonna talk about their strengths and weaknesses. We're gonna talk about their star players, and at the
Mm-hmm.
end, as always, after each group, we will talk about who we think or which teams we think will progress to the next round.
Exactly, yeah. Our wisdom for the future will impart.
Our expert analysis and opinion. Exactly. uh,
Okay.
yeah. So I think we should start off with Group A,
Yeah,
as the
sounds fun.
alphabets
Yeah.
go. Thank you, Kingdom.
So we have in this group, we have Russia, the host. We have Saudi Arabia, the co country that I'm sure slipped some under the table to be part of this. Leave my conspiracy theories out
The
of it.
controversy.
Okay, controversy. Okay, we have Russia, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Egypt, the Mo Salah team, and then we have the famous Uruguay. Yes,
Yeah.
With
Okay.
Luis the Chewer Suarez.
Chewbacca.
Louis
Chewbacca.
Chupa.
Suarez.
That's a good nickname for him, exactly.
Exactly.
So let's start off with the host country, Russia.
Russia.
And
That's a
how
bad.
let's not get into how they got the bid through.
Mm-mm.
I think that
Mm-mm.
we will
That's not for
save
us.
for another day, another time when we hopefully are a little more safer.
Tin,
But
tinfoil
yeah,
fan.
so let's talk about so as obviously as host nations they didn't have to go through the qualifiers. uh,
Mm-hmm.
they're like the kid who kind of doesn't have to do any of the exams and just passes through it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So let's talk about the strengths.
Yeah.
Russia's strengths. I don't think there are too many, but if there was one, it's that they are probably playing at home.
Yeah, they're playing at home. Right, definitely. And I think another one to add to that is that most of the players are homegrown. Homegrown, of course, it's a it's a country team, but as in most of them play at home. Most of the team members have experience playing together, as opposed to a team like England where you have players. Not England, I mean, you have Spain where players are everywhere, or you know.
All
Yeah, I think those are probably the strengths. I don't see the team being extraordinary or them having like super talented players. It's clearly down to how well they know the pitches, how well the fans can basically back them up. We know
Yep.
right.
Russian fans, the ultras can get quite energetic, quite pumped up. I'm
I'm excited to see what that brings.
light over here on the words. I don't want to be too critical of them, but the word ultras kind of gives it away. Anyway, so those are probably their only strengths that I can see right now. But I think there are more weaknesses than their strengths, and one of the weaknesses that they
I agree.
have is that they have such an aging squad. I mean,
Yeah, I'd agree. I'll also say that it's sort of it's funny because you have that juxtaposed with a squad that's very young as well. So you have really old, not squad, but players. You have really old wing backs, but your center backs are pretty young. The center backs in the teams haven't really played as much, so they're quite inexperienced. But on the other hand, you have center backs are supposed to be the people that who give you the spine, who give you the strength. That first I got this feeling. So when you have that case, you sometimes send tremors across the whole team in terms of confidence. But behind them, we have one of the most experienced players in the Russian team, Igor Akinfeev. Just
Yeah,
They have so many competitions.
I think he's got to be their star player. We've kind of, if you look at a veteran, then we probably look at Zhirkov.
Yep.
Wrong. Yuri Zhirkov? Yeah, Zhirkov. Uh, so we look at him, and he was. I mean, I used to know him from his time at Chelsea in the Premier League. I think he was a fullback or a winger that time, but I clearly can't believe that he's still playing. That was what 6 7 years ago, and he
Right.
was 28 then or something. So you can imagine my surprise when I saw his name still on the team sheet. But
Mhm.
Akinfeev kind of has to be the only player Russia has that is probably close to being uh, world class. Not world class, but at least top play, at least a top player.
Top enough player. I feel like yeah, he has declined. I mean, the thing is, I'm changing my standards for world class for Russia. I feel like he was very very good, but Akinfeev is prone to really stupid mistakes. I'm sorry to say that. Like I've seen him just pull a Klavan, not Klavan. I mean, Carius. I've seen him pull a Carius like many times. So
But yeah, we should probably run a background check on him. He should be playing for England, I think. That he makes so many errors between.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it for Russia.
Actually, just one more thing. I think with when I used to play Football Manager, one of the players that I actually liked from there was Jagoev. I made sure that I bought him. He is, I guess, still a pretty good prospect that a player that has potential and talent and can show it up. Sometimes doesn't. So a person to also sort of keep a side eye on or one eye on, I would say Jagoev would be interesting to keep an eye on.
He was linked to United for quite a bit.
During the Van Gaal times, right?
Van Gaal time, and they were close towards getting him. But the other player I remember from Russia, I don't. He's not made the squad. Was probably Arshavin, and
Oh yeah, much love.
was for Arsenal. He was quite good until he became overweight for some reason. So that's it for Russia and the host nation, and we probably move on to the country or the team that they're going to play first tomorrow, which is Saudi Arabia. Uh, our neighbors, kind of, because we used to live in Dubai, UAE.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I suppose we sort of, kind of,
kind of.
Have to.
not really. I don't really care about them. I'm sorry. Saudi Arabia, yeah.
Yeah, do you know anything about Saudi Arabia? Because I haven't watched them too.
I've always wondered, like, some of the Saudi Arabian players don't seem like they're actually from Saudi Arabia. So I've always been like, hey, are you guys importing your players? I don't believe this. But also the way they made it into the competition was very, very sketch. Like, they had a round robin playoffs for the final, and then they made it through goal difference. Like, I'm sure there was a lot of like fuckery going on over there. So I'm not gonna get into that. Saudi Arabia, don't kill me. But yeah, we can talk about their strengths, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. They were managed, I remember, by Bert Van Marwijk. I'm pronouncing it wrong. Bert Van Marwijk, the Dutch coach who took Netherlands to the finals in 2010. So I
Oh,
think I think that kind of has shaped the way they play. I think they're a little more defensively sound, uh, like the Dutch team were. Uh,
mhm.
though in 2010 they were more reckless than they were sound, but uh, yeah. So I think that's the way they are built up to play this World Cup. But it's going to be tough for them playing the likes of Uruguay, Russia, even Egypt. I think would pose a bigger threat than Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
I don't see
I-
I mean, I haven't seen too much of them, so I can't really talk about their strengths and weaknesses. But uh, you would still think that they're the weakest side in the group.
I mean, easily we can point out that they're probably the weakest. Yeah, that they don't have any star player to pull them out. They don't have experience as much in the World Cup. Their team, I've heard that the team does lack pace. They're a little slow, especially their defense. I guess that comes from their experience. But at the end of the day, I don't see too much happening for Saudi Arabia. Okay. So suppose we move on to Egypt then.
Yeah, Mo Salah. Mo Salah's
Mo
team.
Salah. The
Or
Mo Salah.
that actually the coach of Egypt has recently said that we're not a Mo Salah team.
Yeah, right.
That way,
Just like how Pochettino said that we're not a Hurricane team. Okay.
Argentina's not a Messi team, Portugal's not a Cristiano Ronaldo team. Yeah, but they are a Mo Salah team. The team heavily depends on Mo Salah, but we'll get to the star player later on. So,
Right.
I think the strengths has to be their attacking lineup, their forwards. I think they've got their midfield is okay, but their forwards, I mean, Mo Salah, and they've got the winger from Stoke who just recently transferred to Huddersfield, Ramadan Sodi.
So yeah, right.
Sodi, but
So-
I think he's a young prospect to look out for. There were a lot of talks of signing him, and Huddersfield. I think David Wagner wanted to see whether this Egyptian would work for him. I think their attacking lineup is much more.
Actually, to add on to that, their defense is actually pretty good too. While their coach, I think it's called Hector Cooper or something. While he's been in charge, out of the 35 games that he's been in charge, Egypt has only let in 20 goals. So defensively, they're pretty strong as well. So in that sense, I think that that's also a part of their game. So it is a little bit more rounded than you would
I
think.
think, but I was just looking. If they've only conceded 20, but the opposition that they played is only African teams predominantly. When they've come against Portugal and all, they did struggle slightly.
Yeah, they did lose 3.
But
and
I think their biggest weakness is if their star man is not playing, because if
Right. I mean, even if their star man is playing, I think we can say if they pull something like what Mourinho does, you target one guy, you man mark him, and you man mark him with 2 people even, and just take him out of the game. Take that one guy out of the game, and that's it. Like you're completely impotent. You're done.
yeah,
for Egypt.
something like what Ramos did.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the weakness. That is that with Mo Salah uh, running like racing against time to be fit. We don't know whether he's going to make the first game against Uruguay or not. But with him not there, I kind of it gives the team it weakens the team. It definitely weakens the team. If we saw the match that they had against Portugal, they were leading when Mo Salah was there. The moment Mo Salah went off, Ronaldo scored 2. So you kind of see the importance that this little Egyptian has on the team, has on the country. I think the country is entirely
Dependent on him. Yeah.
on Mo Salah, and that could also be seen in the elections when I think 1 million Egyptians voted for Mo Salah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah.
So I think he came second in the presidential elections, even when he wasn't running.
Should have won.
Should have won. Same thing actually happened in Canada. But moving on,
Yeah,
we can talk about that when we start a hockey podcast.
hockey podcast.
Yeah.
So talking about the star player, which is Mo Salah, it's interesting to see he keeps posting pictures on Instagram saying that he is going to be fit, that he will be ready. He's already started
I think
training
he
to a
will.
slight
I mean-
extent.
Yeah, I don't see why this could be a major issue. I don't see that this is going to be a problem for Mo Salah. It was just his hand.
It's just a matter of playing the first match, and that's against Uruguay. They do need Mo Salah
They need him. Yeah.
because
Speaking of, yeah, it'll be a battle of offense, I suppose. You have Mo Salah
it'll
versus.
definitely be Uruguay's off. I mean, Uruguay's defense is also quite good, and we'll come to that.
So
But
go to-
it's going to be unlocking that defense, and Mo Salah is going to be key.
Okay, yeah.
That'll be a good point for us to move on to Uruguay then. Speaking of which, Uruguay, I agree. Uruguay does have a pretty notable defense too. We've got Gordon, who I absolutely love. I adore this guy. I wanted him at United like every single season. But they have a pretty good setup, I'd say. They start with a 4-4-2 and the 2-pronged attack. You've got Cavani and you have Suarez, which is just those 2 names in one team. Like, wow, that sounds exciting.
And also to mention, next to Diego Godin is his Atletico Madrid partner Jimenez,
Mhm.
who's I think he's only 23, and he's such a good prospect as a defender.
Right.
I've been trying. I mean, knowing Liverpool's defense, I was thinking that we should actually go in for him. He's done so well for Atletico.
Right, that's pretty
Even though
cool.
it's a
And
more defensive side, he's done quite well there.
mhm.
And
That's good. Then they have like experience playing together, so you have a team that's actually known to play well.
yeah,
What?
I think I personally believe the defending pairing is the core, the bedrock of a team. That's the one that gives the team confidence. Even if you have like a Ronaldo, you have a Salah in the attack, you need a strong defensive pair to make everybody calm and to just be like, hey, those guys will take care of it. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna attack. So
That's
and so we've got two at the back, which is Diego Godin and Jimenez, and we've got two up front, which is Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani.
mhm.
And these four are probably their best chance of qualifying out of this group.
Yep.
I think Luis Suarez or Cavani have to get their shooting boots on. They need to hit the ground running,
Mhm.
and Diego Godin and Jimenez have to probably. They have a less. They have the threat to goal is less. I mean, they don't have too much to stop because Russia, Saudi, and Egypt don't really pose too much of a threat going forward.
Yeah.
But
Right.
but they still do need
It's
to do
gonna be
the
bad.
job.
right, yeah, I agree. If any like one obvious weakness I would say is that their left midfield is a little older. He's 32, so he doesn't have as much pace, I would say. So you might have, if there's any issue, you might have people poking and prodding their left side to attack. Because he ends up leaving the left back a little bit more exposed given his pace.
Yeah, and that would actually go well if Salah plays on the right for some reason. Like if he does at
Yeah.
Liverpool, so that
Exactly.
right left would.
Right channel, exactly. That'll be very interesting to see. Hopefully, we have one of the center backs taking care of him, or you.
The other one is their midfield isn't as strong as their forward lineup or their defensive lineup.
Yeah.
Uruguay, there's no notable player that I can pick out and say, oh, this person's a top player, or this person can control the midfield. So
Right.
it is kind of going to be like a FIFA mode where you pass from defense straight to attack.
Yeah, that's how they play. They play direct long ball football. So what they like to do is they like to send their fullbacks really high up, and then they play long balls to the sides, and then those guys play towards. So even though I guess that makes sense. Now you have a pretty shitty midfield, and you have a pretty good defense, you have a pretty good attack. Just bypass the midfield. So that's the way they play. So good on them.
Like a South
Yeah.
American Stoke City.
I guess.
A rich man's West Brom.
If you were to pick out of the four players that I mentioned, Diego Godin, Jimenez, Suarez, and Edinson Cavani, who would you pick as their star player? Who would their one star player that you believe?
So like I would say that Suarez is their star player for sure. Suarez, he's one of the best strikers, hands down. Right, he is best biters, best strikers. He's amazing. But I think the one that they need the most is later on. Maybe not in the group stages, but later on, I think the person they need the most is going to be Gordon. He, in my opinion, is going to be the most valuable player, the MVP.
Yeah, I agree. I think Suarez, the key thing for Suarez is staying on the pitch.
Yeah.
As long as he stays on the pitch and doesn't go biting people, he can
Yes.
be a star player for Uruguay. But we're yet to see that in the World Cup stage. He's been sent off in 2010 for the handball, 2014 for the
Yo.
bite.
Yup, very exciting times. I am waiting for this to happen so he gets banned. Please, bye bye. Okay, so
He's no
this is
longer
good
at
point
Liverpool,
for
so he's not my
us.
problem now.
anymore. Yes, it's Barca. I don't care about that.
Okay, out of the four teams now, your predictions as to who's going to qualify first and second.
I think it's quite easy for me to say. I easily it's going to be Uruguay topping the group. Like they're the ones who stand out. They have a great attack. They have a great defense. They have star players all around. We even had trouble picking the star players from Uruguay. So I think Uruguay is going to be the one that clearly comes on top, or the other three. And with the rest of the three, the team that comes second, I think it depends. A huge factor of the team that comes second is whether Mo Salah is fit or not. If he's fit, it's done. It's done. It's over. Egypt is going to be second. If he's not, however, I still think Egypt has a good chance. But I don't think the fact that Russia is playing at home, surrounded by Russian officials and Russian fans, I don't think you can count them out yet. but hands down, the last team is going to be Saudi Arabia. So that's my
Yeah,
prediction.
I think I completely agree. The Uruguay is going to probably top their group, so they're number one, and second, it's gonna come down to Russia versus Egypt. And like you said, if Mo Salah stays fit, I would put Egypt second. I still would put Egypt second. I think they still have that slight bit with Russia's injury concerns and a lot of issues that they do have. I think Egypt has it in them to come second, and I would like to kind of see them play Spain for some other reasons. But I would say Egypt second, Uruguay first, and Russia kind of just narrowly missing out.
Okay, great. So that ends our first segment for Group A, and we'll see you guys again when we talk about Group B.